Good, good, good morning, team. Welcome to Self Reflection Sunday 20. Can you believe we're up to episode 20 already? Thanks for joining me. If you are joining me on the replay, thank you very much for joining me on the replay. If you're joining me live, thanks for joining me live. Please let me know where you're joining me from. And make sure that you do play along when we're going. So let me just adjust this for you so it's not all the picture behind. So sorry I am a few moments late. I do apologise for that. I noticed that we've got some people watching. Please let me know who's watching just because I can't see it on my screen. So give me some thumbs up, give me some love. Just want to make sure that I acknowledge you for joining me live. Now I've got some notes here I will be reading off, and as the title suggests, episode 20 is Life is a Marathon, Not a Sprint. Now I was thinking about this over the week and then how I was going to attack this, and I think the biggest thing is bringing it back to something that I know very well, and that is training, of course. Training people, training myself, and all of those types of things, as well as business, because I run a business, and it's one of those things that is definitely a marathon, not a sprint. So what I wanted to talk about today was the reason it is a marathon is because things take time. All things take time. So I use the example of training. Let's say that we want to lose some weight. The reason it takes so long is the body has to adapt and change to the losing the weight and gaining the muscle, and that all takes time. We've got to go to the gym, and it's all more about consistency, of course, than volume or anything like that. Because if we train once a week, that's not going to do it, even if we do 3 hours there compared to if we did 3 hours throughout the week, spread up. And I use the example of powerlifting because, say we want to lift 200 kilos, for an example. We want to be a power lifter. We want to lift 200 kilos. But we can only lift 100 at the moment. It's definitely going to take a long time to train the body to be able to lift 200 kilos. We've got to train the muscles, we've got to train the joints, we've got to train the ligaments, we've got to train the central nervous system as well as the mind to be able to lift that. Because you don't want to hurt yourself. Obviously, you could try and lift that 200 kilos, but you'll probably hurt yourself or you'll fail. So we have to make sure that we train for that, and it's not going to take a week. It's not going to take a month. It's probably maybe not even going to take a year. It's probably going to take a long time to go from say 100 kilos to 200 kilos. So use that as an example. Another one is, of course, in business. Now I know personally that I want to go through and be super successful and help heaps of people straight away. But I realise that it takes a very long time. I use my dad as an example. He said he's almost been in the saddlery game for 50 years. In a few years he'll be being a saddler for 50 years. That is an unreal amount of time to do one thing. And people know him because he's been doing it for so damn long, and he's been out and about, and he's been running the business for that long. And I would love to have the success that he has, but I'm only 28. I've been doing it for 4 years. There's no way that I can do as well as him in just 4 years, even if I am obviously much better looking and do have a much better mustache than him, and I'm a little bit more tech savvy, but that's another story. So we've really got to make sure that we enjoy the process. I think that's one thing that people don't do. The training and the goal at the end, there's the goal at the end. That's where we want to get to, whether it's lifting weight, whether it's gaining muscle, whether it's losing fat, whatever it may be, doing a certain movement that we can't do already. It's the process where we get the greatest lessons, and then once we get to the end, we're going to hopefully set a new goal from there and go along that way. So we really want to make sure that we're enjoying that process, team, because that's where you're going to get your greatest lessons, you're going to get your greatest enjoyment, and that's probably going to take up a lot of the time, because if the example is that we're doing powerlifting, once you lift that weight, it might only take a couple of seconds, then you're done. but you know, you're going to have hundreds, if not thousands, of training sessions to get to there, and that's going to be the enjoyable part. And so, you know, we've got to think about the people that have had long-term success. You know, who are those people that have had long-term success? You know, whether it be in the training field, so someone, you know, being a powerlifter, or someone who's in the fitness world, or if it's a business person or, you know, entrepreneur. All of those people have been around for a very, very long time. And you may not have heard of them for that long, but they've been around working on their craft for a very long time to get to there. There's no such thing as overnight success. We might not know about them because they're doing their thing in the shadows, and then once they become famous, then we know about them. It's like the guy, I just saw something on Facebook, someone shared something about the London Marathon. How relevant. And it was broken, the world record was broken for the fastest marathon by this guy. Now, of course, not too many people probably knew who he was in the world. Now, a lot of people know who he was because of the famous photos of him doing it. There's a lot of videos around, there's interviews with him. He didn't just wake up that morning and run that race and get that world record. I don't actually know how long he's been training for, but he's been training for a very, very long time. And, you know, he dedicated himself to running that marathon. And he knew that it was a marathon to get to that stage. He had to do all the training. He had to get up and do the training and be consistent with it. He had to do all the other things like the nutrition, the stretching, the mobility work, the recovery, to be able to do that, the mental prep to be able to run that race. And so then he went out there and he did it in just over 2 hours. I was like 2 hours and 1 minute. You know, the race wasn't ironically that long in comparison to how much he would have had to have trained beforehand to do that. So, you know, and I understand this. I'm a millennial. I like things now. You know, I live in the information age where, you know, where I was out at brunch yesterday and we were talking about something and we were like, oh, I wonder who that... Boom, we got our phone out, we looked it up instantly. You know, if I want something, I can just go on Amazon and buy it, and it's probably going to be here the next day. Things like that. So with those things, they come really quickly, and that gives us this false sense that things are quick. But of course, anything worth having doesn't come easy. We all know that. Now, so another good example is the Biggest Loser contestants. The show The Biggest Loser. They're, you know, in that show, I believe it's about a 12 to 16 week period that they start, and they're, you know, obviously quite overweight, and then they finish off, and so it's about 16 weeks in there, and then 3 months after there, so it's about a sort of 6 month period, I believe, and they lose massive amounts of weight, like massive, like sometimes they lose half of their body weight, and you know, the sad case is that a lot of them put that weight back on, if not more, because of that, because they've done it so quickly that the body can't adapt to that. They don't really learn the great habits. It's a game, so there's money involved, so they just push for it, and they lose this, you know, huge amounts of weight. So, you know, it's very important to notice that it is that long. You can't sprint. I'm sure anyone that has run a marathon, Liam, who was here last week, he's run a few marathons. I'm sure he could tell you that he can't run at his maximum speed that entire race. He'll literally die, I believe. So if this is making sense to you, team, give me some thumbs, give me some love. Let me know that you're appreciating this, because hopefully it's making sense in my head. I just want to make sure it's coming across that way. So I want to give you guys some tips of how you can start running the long race, because it's very important, because you know, you can listen to me talk all the time, but you've got to make sure that you're implementing some of this stuff. So first thing is setting stretch goals. So a stretch goal is something that you know is going to stretch you. It's going to push you. It's not that easy thing of like, oh, I'm going to run a 5K race and, you know, that's all I'm going to do. My stretch goal would be something along the lines of, I'm going to do a 15K race, because that's a long way. That's a long way for me. I'm not a runner, so that would be a real stretch goal. So I've got to make sure that I commit, I train, I prepare, and then I do that race. So that's a big thing for that. And then also making sure that the lead up time is adequate for that. So if you say that you want to run a 10K race tomorrow and you haven't run in 2 years, that's a bit unrealistic. Yes, it's a stretch goal because it's really got to stretch you, but you also might have an injury. So let's be smart about this, team. Let's be smart about this. Take up a hobby or a sport that has a long time to master it. So personally, I'm doing jiu-jitsu. They say, it takes about 10 years to become, like minimum 10 years to become a black belt. Some people much longer. So, picking something that is going to take you a long time to learn, whatever that may be. And then the most important part about that one is be interested. That's the next point. Be interested in that hobby or sport. There's no point in picking something up that you know is going to take a long time to do, but you actually don't like it. You need to be interested in the process. So you need to be fully interested in what you're doing. I really enjoy jiu-jitsu, and so much so that when I watched the UFC fight last week, I was noticing little things about it because now I've done a little bit of it. It starts to make sense to me. So I'm like, oh wow, that's really interesting. So I'm going to start watching more UFC because of that, because it's interesting. Because of that, and I'm going to start watching more jiu-jitsu online. I already do watch a lot of it, and then that's going to get me more interested to go and do it. And then that's that vice versa. Like I'll watch, I'll go do. So then I want to watch more, and it's just that sort of interest. I'm actually interested in it, and then go deep in that interest. There's no point in just sort of being like, oh, I kind of like it. It's okay, I guess, and then not being fully immersed in it, because eventually you will give it up. There's so many people that I see in training, because I do specific style of training. I use a lot of kettlebells, battling ropes, suspension training, and sandbags. So if you don't like that, you will eventually get bored with that style of training. So it's very important to make sure that you do like that. And now, in saying that, it's okay to go and try something and not like it. Don't do something continually if you don't like it. Don't think, oh, I've spent 3, 6, 12 months doing this thing and I don't actually like it anymore. That's fine. Better to cut it off, move on, find something new. That's perfectly fine. A lot of people that you meet who have done something for a very long time generally didn't go into it thinking, I'm going to do this for the next 20 years. They probably were interested in it, so they went and inquired and did a little bit of it, and then were like, oh well, this is actually interesting, I actually enjoy it. They spent a little bit more time, they started to get good at it, like, oh, I'm actually pretty good at this, I could probably do this for a bit longer. And then they get that real passion for it. They're like, wow, I really enjoy this, I really, really enjoy this. A good example I use is, I met this guy when I went to Everest Base Camp. His name was Mickey, and he has been doing judo for 25 years, so he's a 5th Dan black belt in judo. I was like, wow, that's amazing. He's like, yeah, but I've been doing it for 25 years, So he really, really enjoys it. He talks about it, he shares videos on it. He's always doing it. He's actually doing a fundraiser for it, 1,000 judo throws in 6 hours for charity. And that's because he's really, really involved in it. He really likes it. His son's involved in it as well. So they've got that father-son sort of connection with that. So, he was, when he picked it up, he just liked, he was a boxer, obviously he's Irish, and he just really liked it, and then just translated over, did a bit of judo, and was like, this is cool, I'm going to do this. Gave up the boxing and then did that. That's how you find out that you like things, team. You just got to try it. I've done different martial arts in the time, and I just like the idea of jiu-jitsu because there's no hitting. I'm really bad at striking, and I don't like getting hit. So, jiu-jitsu is a little bit better like that. And then the biggest part is learn to enjoy the process, team. Hey, Tom, thanks for joining me, mate. So if you are joining me, please let me know because I can't actually see every time someone joins. So leave me a comment, say g'day. It's really important to make sure that I acknowledge you because I really want to say hello and thank you for joining me live because I do appreciate it. But you've got to really enjoy the process, team. I enjoy going to training to train jiu-jitsu, and I know I talk about that a lot. It's because it's A, it's interesting to me, and B, it's something I'm doing. So I know I'm thinking about the process. And, sometimes I get really, really frustrated when I get to go to jiu-jitsu just because I want to be better. I want to be better, but I know that it takes time, and that's like that frustrating thing. You're like, I know that I need to do more of it, but I just want it now. I just want it now. You want it now, and you get, you take on people that have been doing it longer, and they're so good. You're like, damn, I wish I was as good as you. I've been doing it for years. I remember I took on the black belt. He said he's been doing it for 28 years. I'm only 28. He's been doing it for as long as I've been alive. That's a long time for me. And he's like, yeah, 20, been doing it 28 years. Now he's teaching people how to do it. I think that's amazing, and that's hopefully in 28 years or 27 and a half years, that can be me, and I'll be this like killer black belt, and I'll be like, hey, what's going on? Yeah, I've been doing this 28 years, whatever. No big deal. So that's the aim, and you don't go into something thinking I'm going to do this for the next 10, 15, 20, 30 years. Because I'll tell you a story, team. That's what I did with the army. From about 10 years old, I was set. Jono's going in the army. I was John back then. John was going into the army. He's going into the army, and he's going to do it for his entire life. He's going to do it for 40 years. That's what he's going to do. He's going to do the army. He's going to be in the army, and he's going to do it. So I joined the army when I was 17, the Army Reserves. Did that, fantastic. When I was 19, joined the full-time army. Did that. 2.5 years into it, I don't actually like this. It's not what I thought. It's not as enjoyable as I like. I kind of don't want to do this anymore. And then because of what I've been telling myself for the last, 10 years, that this is what I was going to do, kind of had like a little, quarter life crisis, because I was like, shit, what do I do now? This is all I wanted to do. Now I can't do it. Like, what? I was in a bad place just because I was like, head was like blown. Like, whoa, what do I do? And then what came of that was a new passion, and it actually came through an injury. I had my shoulder injured when I was in the army, had it dislocated, and then I went through the rehab process. I really enjoyed that. Hey, Ellen, thanks for joining me. I really, really enjoyed that. Like not the pain side of it, I had to have surgery, but the learning about it. I was always asking my physio, well, what are you doing here? What's that? What's this? And she was telling me, this muscle connects to this muscle, we did that, this does that, and this does, all the thingy, the doodads and that. I was like, this is really cool. I really enjoy this. I want to learn more. So I started investigating more. I started looking up more. I started training more, looking up, talking about training, watched videos, read articles, bought magazines on it. And then that just took me down the path. I became interested in it. And then I decided, I actually really like this and I want to share this with others. So I became a personal trainer. And then from there I left the army, did that as my job. And, here I am today, talking to my phone about it. That's how interested I am. And now I see myself doing this for the long term. Where that takes me, I don't know. I'm not going to say I'm going to be a personal trainer for 20 years because I've learned that the hard way. I would like to do this for as long as possible. If that's another 2 years, if it's another 20 years, whatever. I'm taking it by year. But, that's what you've got to do, team. You've got to find something you're passionate about. And it may not be that obvious to start with. Another example is another good friend of mine, Josh. We went to Everest Base Camp together. He got flown down with Mickey. I didn't. I walked. Whatever. No big deal. Whatever. I walked. They didn't. But Josh, he was in the army with me. Did that. He kind of got over it as well. But one thing he did was when he was overseas, he saw the army working with dogs, and he's like, "Hey, I'm interested in dogs. Let's go down that path." He now trains dogs. He also has a dog podcast. If you're interested, go check that out. But that came from him just seeing dogs. I'm like, oh wow, this is pretty cool. This is pretty interesting. I'm seeing dogs and seeing what they're doing. Thanks for joining me, Angela. Thanks for joining. Appreciate it. And that's thing that came of it. Now he's absolutely involved with dogs. He has a dog podcast. He talks about dogs. I ask him dog questions. He boom straight on it. He asks me fitness questions. You can kind of see where I'm going here, team. So I'm pretty sure most people that got into their long-term career didn't do that straight out the bat. Yeah, cool. If this is making sense, team, please give me some thumbs up, give me some hearts. If you're enjoying this, please let me know. If you have an example of this, because this is where you've come from in the same boat, please let me know in the comment section below. I really like engaging with everyone, both now and afterwards, team. It really makes, thanks for giving me the thumbs up, thanks for giving me the love. I do these because I really enjoy talking, as we all know. Anyone that knows me knows that I love a good yarn. I'll talk all day, underwater, out of a wet paper bag. But I really want engagement, team. I do these to try and help you, and hopefully you do get a little bit out of it. But one of the greatest things that I like about being a personal trainer is getting to know people. So I want to get to know you, team. I want you to comment below. I want you to talk about your experiences. Yeah, exactly. I like talking. Yeah, Angela, you like talking too? That's why I got into this job. The army, you always got to be quiet. You got to sneak around. Shh, don't talk. I was, keep quiet. All that, so the bad guys got to keep it down. PT, I got to talk all the time because the person's working out. It might be hard. So to distract them, I talk. They're grinding out. Oh, God. I'm just like, hey, what do you do on the weekend? No. I'm just talking. I'm just shooting shit. I just see the rugby game. Oh yeah, I'm great at it. Next thing, oh yeah, you're done. Yeah, sweet. Hour's over. They're like, oh wow, that went quick. Because I'm just keep them going. It's hard when you got to do it all day. I get a sore voice. It's first world problems, right? But yeah. So team, comment below. I really want to get to know each and every one of you, and let me know your stories, and don't feel pressured that you have to do it in the comment section. Feel free to reach out to me in the private, slide into my DMs. More than happy to have a chat. Love to get to know people and see how I can help. And one thing is generally they can help me too. So I'll leave it there because I've rambled a little bit. Hopefully you've enjoyed this, team. If you have, slap a thumbs up, slap a heart on it, share it with someone that you think would be able to benefit from this, and I'll see you Monday for Mindful Monday. Thanks for joining me, team.